Today, I'd like to let you get to know me a little bit better through my daughter, Shayna. As I record this, it's Shayna's 25th birthday. The day she was born was marked by, it was an icy chill. It was a snowy, cold, blustery day, just like it is now, January 13th. And it felt like a harbinger of something that extraordinarily rare when Shayna came in. It's interesting the way she came in. And again, today is her 25th birthday, but it's been 3,490 days since I last saw Shayna in the physical. She passed away on June 24th, 2015, suddenly in her sleep. And I have to say that 25 years after her birth, the memory of her arrival still burns vividly in my mind. The moment when I first held Shayna felt like a miracle after a day of worry and anticipation. Now, before Shayna was even born, we had a test run when Tawana was pregnant, and it came back abnormal. And they said that either the due date was off, she would be a twin, or there was something genetically wrong with her. So we had an amniocentesis. That itself presents a risk of miscarriage. And then what we did was on Shayna's, the day that she was born, Tawana was induced. So we went in the hospital about 8 o'clock in the morning, expecting Shayna to be born probably by noon or so. Well, it was 10 o'clock at night before Shayna was born. Her heart rate kept going up and down, mostly down. There was a lot of deceleration. And there, I got to the point where I even wanted to scream at the doctors, just get her out. Let's have a C-section. So Shayna's entry into the world was something else. And then I remember going to the hospital the next morning, and the nurses were saying, you've got your hands full with this one. Just the way that Shayna cried in the nursery, she demanded attention. And they said she was going to be something special. And that wasn't just idle chatter. That was actually prophetic. So from the outset, as I said, Shayna demanded that the world pay attention to her. That cry that she had that in the hospital lasted for 2 years. Shayna didn't sleep through the night for 2 years. She would scream out in the middle of the night. She hated to be alone, and she wanted us to be there with her, to hold her. We were on road trips. She would be in the back seat in her car seat saying, Mommy, hold me, Mommy. And Tawana would have to reach her hand back and hold Shayna's hand. So Shayna was constantly demanding what she wanted. And I remember when she was very young, I thought maybe there was something wrong with her because she didn't like to be held a lot. She liked to be down on the floor exploring. But that changed, and she soon became like a real love bug. She would sit on my lap, and she would rub my earlobe. And when I would work in my office, Shayna would get in the chair behind me when I was working. So she became a very, very loving and caring child. Now, we homeschooled both Shayna and Kayla, so we got to spend a lot of time with them. But Kayla, her older sister, is about 3 years older. And when Tawana was pushing her and Shayna in the strollers, they were going on walks, and Tawana would work with them and say, what starts with A? And Kayla would say apple. And what starts with B? And Kayla would name something. Shayna wanted to play along. So both girls worked a year ahead in school, but Shayna got started really early because she wanted to be just like Kayla. And both of them learned to read really quickly, like overnight. They went from like not being able to read to they could read anything. Now, I was really fortunate during that time. I was able to work from home, and we homeschooled them. And so I was sitting here in my office where I'm recording this now, and Tawana would be with the girls in the basement working on their lessons. So we got to spend a lot of time together, and we got to go out to lunch, in the middle of the day, or we'd make a trip to Costco or go to the movies. I remember especially one memory when Shayna was 7 and Kayla was 10. Right after school, went back, and right after Labor Day, we took a trip to Disney World. We got an all-inclusive package, so we were treated like royalty, and there were no lines. We got to just run through the lines for everything. Riding things that would take people hours in line in the summer to ride, we would just go ride them over and over again. So Shayna was this girl, as I said, she always had this fierce determination from the start. She had an incredible ability to control her body. She was really good with her hands. So she, as I said, she was great in homeschool. She was great at sports. She started playing basketball when she was like 5 years old. I remember the high school coach was looking at Shayna when she was in 4th grade. He already had a place for her. He wanted her to be the center on the high school team. So Shayna played this level of basketball, this AAU level basketball from, I think it was about 4th grade up through when she was in about 8th grade. And then she came to us and said, I don't really want to play basketball anymore. And we're like, Shayna, you've been working on this your whole life. We've had this set out. You're going to be on the high school team. And she said, no, I wanted to switch to volleyball. And we said, Shayna, you don't play volleyball. You've hardly ever even touched a volleyball. And we warned her that the girls that she would be competing with had been playing volleyball since they were 5, just like she'd been playing basketball since she was 5. She'd never played competitively before. But we put her in a summer camp. She went to it for a few weeks. Tryouts were in the fall. I would go out in the backyard and hit the ball around with her. I played a little bit of volleyball myself when I was young. She really worked on her skills, and she went to the tryout for the high school team, and she made it. And so she was on the freshman team in high school. Then she said she wanted to go out for this AAU team, and we said, Shayna, that's a really high level volleyball. You're not ready for that, but of course she wanted to do it. So I remember we dropped her off, and she went to the tryouts. And there was a regional team, which was most likely if she made anything, she'd make that team. It was more local, but it was called regional. And then there was the national team. So when she called, we expected to be disappointed. We were going to try to let her know that it was okay. And she said, Daddy, they don't want me on the regional team. They want me on the national team. Now, I didn't know what that even meant at the time, but that meant that all of her tournaments were out of town. She and Twana were on the road that entire volleyball season to an out-of-town tournament, not a single one in town, by the way, staying in hotels and eating at restaurants and having a great time. But this was another example of the way Shayna just overcame everything. And in fact, the last week of Shayna's life here on earth, she went to the national tournament in Florida. We live in Ohio. And she and her mother, and they stayed in a hotel, and Shayna was playing with the kids, and they were on this fancy resort, riding around in golf carts, and Shayna was talking to her mother and getting her everything she wanted in terms of having oysters on the half shell for dinner and stuff like that. And then Shayna, when she was in 8th grade, and so we homeschooled her, she said she wanted to go to public school. And we said, Shayna, it's a rough time to go to public school. Being a 14 or 13-year-old girl, in a school you've never been in public school before. Being an African American girl, we lived in an all white area. You don't really know that many people, even though she knew quite a few girls from Girl Scouts because she was very involved in that. But she said this is what she wanted to do. So we let her go in 8th grade, and she did fantastic. Everybody loved her. She was very popular. She did make it to 9th grade, where she went to the freshman building, and she was 16th in her class. I remember at the award ceremony, the academic award ceremony, there was a girl who was 15, and she was actually friends with Shayna, and Shayna would joke, I'm coming for you. Now, Shayna was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis when she was, I think, about 11 or 12, and Shayna took that like a trooper too. She had a very, very severe form of it. Fortunately, the medication did help. But I remember Shayna, when they asked her, said, you're going to have to get blood drawn. And most kids would cry, would be afraid of needles. Shayna, she just said, okay, this will be fun. Let's see what this is like. And she watched as they drew the blood and it went into the tube. I had to give Shayna injections of this drug into her arm. And it was very painful. So they suggested that I ice her arm before I did it. So we would do that. And I remember Shayna looked at me one day and she said, Daddy, I think I can do it without the ice. And I said, Shayna, are you sure? She said, yeah, I think I can do it. So I gave her the injection. I remember seeing tears well up in her eyes, but she didn't cry. And from then on, we never used ice. That's how Shayna was in terms of her toughness and the way she just overcame things, physically. Now, here we are, June 24th, 2015. Shayna's just gotten back from that national volleyball tournament on Saturday. This is on a Wednesday. She had spent the previous night at a friend's house at a sleepover. And on that morning, I remember Twana went to wake her up. I was sitting in my office, working at my desk. I'd done my walk and everything. I was, getting off to just what seemed like a normal summer day. It was summer break. And Twana screamed out from Shayna's room, and she had found Shayna not breathing. She had passed in her sleep. She was just shy of being 15 and a half. And that's important because in Ohio, that's when you get your learner's permit. And she was really looking forward to driving. So I was devastated, of course. Devastated doesn't begin to describe it. I was full of anger. I was full of despair. And I remember when people would say to me, like, you've got decades to live. You've got a lot to live for. You need to go on. I would get angry at them for saying, don't speak that to me. I don't want to be here for decades. I wanted to be with Shayna, and anyone who's lost a parent or any parent who's lost a child understand, especially a minor child. It's our job to protect them, to be with them. And even though I knew Shayna was okay, where she was, I wanted to be with her, to be there to protect her like it always had been. So I basically made it like a silent vow that I was not going to ever be the same. I thought the way that I could honor my daughter was by just being miserable for the rest of the time I spent walking this earth, which I was hoping would be a short time until I joined her. But then something happened. I went to a grief support meeting, and I'm a big believer of the saying that you can either be a great example or you can be a horrible warning. I remember walking in this meeting, and this woman came in, and she was the latter. She was a horrible warning. Her daughter had passed away several years ago, and she was the embodiment of what I had vowed I was going to be. She was angry, she was depressed, and she was actually depressing. She brought everybody in the room down. Everybody felt worse for having been in the room with her. And I realized that I had a choice. I had to I could let grief embitter me, or I could honor Shayna by embodying the love and the light that she brought into this world. And I knew that that's what she would want, was for me to honor her. So I chose the latter. I found helping parents heal, and those people have become family to me. And I don't mean like family, I mean they are my family. We have family that we're born into, and we have family that we choose. We have family that the people that we go through the struggles with. And another saying I love is, you've heard the saying, blood is thicker than water. Well, actually, the full saying is, the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. And when soldiers would go into battle, that was the blood of the covenant. And that's what bound them together. And that's what's bound me together with people like Helping Parents Heal and others that I've met since then on my journey. I started developing spiritual practices, meditating, exercise, etc., and I actually put them into kind of a framework that I use, things I do every day that I call GEMS, GEMS. And if you're interested, there's a book I have. It's on Amazon. It's called Gems of Healing. It's 4 pillars to navigate grief and reclaim your life. There's actually a short free version of it on my website. If you go to grief2growth.com/gems, you can pick it up there. I'm not saying this to plug the book, but I found that these 4 things that I do really help in terms of my daily practice. So where am I today? 25 years after Shayna's birth, 3,490 days since I last saw her here. Well, as I work with people, and as we go through these anniversaries, Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's, birthdays, angel dates, we tend to focus on what we've lost. We tend to focus on what we don't have. I choose to celebrate her life. I choose to celebrate the lessons that she has taught me through her persistence, the way that she was a leader with her friends, through her academic achievements, through her sports, through everything. I honor the moments that we shared together. I love the fact I could spend so much time with her during that homeschooling, the magical Disney adventure. The time that we spent together was a gift that a lot of parents don't get. And actually, our time together continues to this day, just in a different form. So her spirit continues to inspire my work. It inspires my mission. She's my guide. She's my partner. And she is a reminder that love transcends the physical. I remember Tawana once told Shayna when she was little, we were in Ebony magazine for a business that we ran. And Tawana told Shayna she was going to be famous. And Shayna would always push back and say, no, I'm not going to be famous. We had no idea at the time what that meant. We didn't have any idea how far-reaching her impact would be. She is my not-so-silent partner in this business that I'm doing, in the mission that I'm doing, in the work that I'm doing. And I'm grateful that every day brings me closer to the day that I will see her again. Until then, though, her light carries me forward. It illuminates not just my path, but it also illuminates the lives of so many others that she's touched. I posted on Facebook about her birthday, and hundreds of people feel like they know Shayna, and she inspires them. So one of the signs that Shayna sends me is the time 11:11. And as I was putting the finishing touches on the article that I wrote about her birthday, my computer glitched. And I was like, what is going on? It went to the lock screen, and it happened to be 11 a.m. Another thing is, on her birthday, we decided to go to Wendy's because Shayna liked Wendy's. So on her birthday, we like to do things that she loved to do. So we went to Wendy's, and we had pizza in the evening. But at Wendy's, I remember looking, and there was this little thing on the counter. It was like you could buy Frosties for a year. You pay like $3, and you get this little tag. And I remember buying one last year, and I said to Tawana, did you ever use that thing we bought last year, that Frosties pass? And I don't think she ever used it. I don't think she used it even once. And she said, no, I don't think I used it, but it's only, only $3. And it's not a big deal. So we come home, and she had to go to the garage to get something. She went out to the garage, and laying there on the floor was the Frosties tag from last year. Now, again, I don't know if she ever used it. I know she put it on her keychain. At some point, it must have fallen off her keychain. How it fell off her keychain in the garage, I don't know, because she typically keeps her keys in her purse. She doesn't have to pull them out to start the car. But that was another one of our signs from Shayna on her birthday. So just wanted to let you know a little bit about my motivation, let you know about Shayna. Anybody who listens to the podcast for any amount of time or if you watch it on YouTube, you've seen her picture, you hear me refer to her all the time. Now you know a little bit more about her, know a little bit more about me. And hopefully this inspires you to continue the relationship with your loved ones that are in spirit too. I assure you that they are not gone, that they're right there with you, that they are proud of you, that they're cheering you on, and they're waiting for that reunion like we will all have someday. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.